call will be recorded and monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $64.16. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right, thank you, brother.
No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. And I said after you hung up that I used the word fetus, and I caught myself afterwards, and I should not be using that word. Sometimes I slip into the vocabulary of the opposition, and I should be using the appropriate word, which is a baby. They like for us to refer to it as to refer to her or him as a fetus, but I should be using the proper word baby, so I corrected myself. Also, I just wanted to say, Pastor Hovind, as I go throughout the course of my day, my week, live my life, that there's certain things that I hear that strike me as incredibly important to do further research on, that I think could have a huge impact on my life. And that little speech you just gave about jurisdiction in the United States and am I a citizen of the United States strikes me as one of those topics that I should do a great deal more research on to educate myself on. So maybe we will take Paul up on some of his offers to educate us all about that going forward. But that just strikes me as an incredibly important topic that I need to do further research on myself.
Well, there's another one. Well, actually, there's many, but there's another one that ties right in. The difference between a word and a term, T-E-R-M. Ask Paul to explain that. You'll go away shaking your head like you're kidding. Well, see, if you think of the movie Alice in Wonderland, the Wicked Queen, and she says, words mean what I say they mean. When that's true, I could define words and say, okay, I'm going to write a story, and in this story, the word dog means blue. Okay, once I define the term at the beginning of my story, and then all throughout the story, whatever I say dog, it means blue, because I've already defined it. At the beginning of most of the statutes in the United States, they define the terms, and they'll say, for the purpose of this statute, the term United States means Puerto Rico. Or the term United States means Virgin Islands. So they define the term at the beginning, and then as they use it, they say, all citizens of the United States must, blah, blah, blah. Well, they already told you at the very beginning, that's people who live in Puerto Rico. But people don't catch that. They think, oh, wow, that's me. I live in the United States.
Yeah.
But it's a giant can of worms that's very difficult to unravel and figure out, what goes with what. But it seems to me there are at least 8 different United Stateses. So, we're going to have the United States Attorney come after me. Well, which United States does she represent? I don't know. I would love to know. Is it the one from 1791 where the Constitution started there? I don't know. I wish I could get them on the witness stand and say, just like Dorothy, when she pulled back the curtain in Wizard of Oz.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
The first words out of her mouth are classic and tremendously important. She said, who are you? I would like to know when a cop pulls you over and is going to give you a speeding ticket, sir, who are you? I'm a Canadian police officer. Well, then I'm sorry, you don't have jurisdiction. I'm in Texas. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Establishing, who are they? What is their jurisdiction?
Amen.
Because they're a human being and have 2 legs and 2 arms and 2 eyes like I do, that doesn't mean they have authorities. The authority has to be delegated by somebody with the ability to delegate the authority.
Amen.
Congress has the ability to pass laws over what? Can your county pass a law and then apply it to somebody in Oklahoma? Oh, no, they have jurisdiction within certain boundaries. The whole question of authority and jurisdiction is one that has never been answered in my case, and I've asked it over and over, and they avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit they don't have authority. Of course not. They love the idea that they are God, and they decide what's right and wrong, and they decide, everything. Excuse me, just exactly who are you, and where is your authority? Where did it come from? If a Canadian cop pulls you over for speeding in Texas and says you're speeding, you don't start arguing how fast you're going. One question only, sir, where's your jurisdiction?
Amen.
If he has delegated jurisdiction and it's lawful, perfect, then okay, you're fine. Just answer the question. See, that's what they're avoiding in this case. And T-Man should be a great help on that. Paul's got all kinds of things going on behind the scenes, and someone who really knows the story refers to himself as T-Man from the Tea Party, who's very knowledgeable on this topic, going to testify, I believe, if it all works out. So it looks like it's going to that's going to blow the whole case wide open. Like, exactly who are you and exactly where's your jurisdiction? What on earth are you doing? If you went over to your neighbor's house and said, I don't like this tree, I'm going to cut it down, and you start cutting his tree down, and he comes out and says, who are you?
Who are you?
My yard, cutting my tree down. Yeah, who are you? And where's your authority to do this?
Right. You know, Pastor Hovind, one thing I remember during the last trial, your trial in March, Eagers, when the subject came up of whether you or Paul were United States citizens, she never claimed that you were United States citizen. The way that she worded it was, I think she was asking IRS Special Agent Scott Snyder, who I call Inspector JVR, but she asked him, do you have any evidence to show that either one of these men are citizens of any other country on the United States? I'm sorry, let me reword that. Do you have any evidence to show that either of these men are citizens of any other country in the world except the United States? She didn't say, are they United States citizens, or they are United States citizens. She never made that claim. She just said, do you have any evidence to show they're citizens of any other country? So it was really unique wording. You know, you can see that there's wording games going on in these battles that are going on in these courtrooms, and you're absolutely right. They avoid this particular topic. I noticed that during the last trial.
For sure. This is, to me, this is the blanket of the whole thing. You know,
yeah.
But taking off the shoes and let's take off this blanket.
Let's take off the blanket. Yeah, exactly. Amen. All right, Pastor Hovind. Let's see. Let me go on to the next question. Give me just 1 second. All right, Pastor Hovind. The next question comes in from Austin, and Austin's written in a few questions, and he writes, I have a Bible question for Brother Hovind. This question is from my dad, Jay. He asks, what is the value for us to read the tedious parts of Leviticus, such as the rules for sacrifice for cleansing lepers? Thank you, Brother Hovind. Praying for you every day, Austin.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
And I'm holding in my hand, this is unrelated to your question, Austin, but I'll get back to it in a minute. I'm holding in my hand a copy of The Trumpet. There is such a thing, which is a magazine that Greg Dixon puts out, fabulous magazine, which everybody should get. Go to unregisteredbaptistfellowship.org, and you can get it. Anyway, it says on there, The Trumpet is under common law copyright. There is such a thing, it's called common law copyright. If I produce something, it's obviously produced by me, and I have the rights to it under common law copyright. I don't have to do anything. So my Dear God letters, my books that I've written, my videos that I've produced, even these conversations are protected under common law copyright, and they can be taken to a court. Anybody who violates that can be taken to a court of record and sued for damages. So that's just common law. And so if someone is taking my words and twisting them from these conversations and all these questions I'm asking, they can be hauled into a court of record and sued for damages.
Very good.
Something that has been done very successfully many times and is going to be done again, Lord willing, if need be. So just so folks are aware, as far as, like you mentioned, the name, Dear God, and email, well, that would be under common law copyright. Yes, that's mine. I came up with it. I don't know anybody else has ever had it, and so no one is allowed to use that without my permission. I have clearly said anybody can copy my videos if they don't change them at all, don't edit them, and don't sell them.
Amen, amen.
If it's higher, the profit should go to the guy who did it. But yeah, same thing with my emails. If somebody wants to share it with somebody else, send it on to Grandma. Hey, Grandma, take this up. Please do. But don't sell it. Don't change it at all. Anyway, so back to Austin's question. The value of reading the laws in Leviticus is interesting. You figure this was written about 1,400 years before Christ. So 3,400 years ago, God is giving common sense laws about disease prevention. When you touch a dead body, don't touch anybody else. If you touch blood, you are unclean until evening. Now, we don't have to abide by all these laws, but God gave these laws to a culture coming out of slavery in Egypt, and they're just incredible common sense dietary laws, sanitary laws, etc. So I love reading Leviticus. It's not something I preach on very often, but there's so many good things in there. We're not commanded to do any of these. These are laws for the Jews, and most of them, of course, like the ceremonial type laws, do these things before a sacrifice, etc. They don't apply because Jesus is the final sacrifice. I think if you look at all the laws regarding the sacrifice, it had to be without spot and blemish. Well, Jesus was the same way. It had to be examined for 3 days before it was sacrificed. Well, Jesus was examined by Pilate and by the people for 3 days. Pilate 3 different times said, I find no fault in him. He was the perfect sacrifice. So I think it's largely symbolic, but I think the biological aspect of just the incredible wisdom of these laws, and when you realize there's no possible way these folks could have known about germs or bacteria, no microscopes or anything like that. God said do it, and they did it. And when the plagues came through Europe and a third of the population died in the 13 or 14 or 1500s, the Black Plague, etc., the Jewish communities were very largely unaffected. And so they thought, well, the Jews are doing this. No, the Jews are following God's common sense laws. For instance, when you go out to defecate, go number 2 in the woods, you take a paddle with you and cover it. That's what it says in one of the laws there. Have a paddle upon your weapon and go bury it. Well, in other words, proper sewage disposal. Well, to us, of course, in America, that's common sense. We all do that, but that wasn't common sense back then. They didn't do that. That's in Deuteronomy 23, verse 13. So laws, I think, are very interesting to read and see, why did God say this? And when we, with our microscopes now, know why He said most of those things, they would have no idea why. Maybe just a test of their obedience. Just do it. And they did it, and it worked. So, hope that helps. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Hovind. I have a new question here. If I can find a place to paste it. Here's one. Hello, Kent from Tennessee. I was wondering if you have heard of Junior Church. He is a preacher and had a website called Prophecy in the News. I heard him and his co-host Gary Sturman say that the earth makes oil and the movement of the plates somehow makes it. What are your thoughts on this? Could the pressure of the plates make oil? Thanks and take care.
I have heard of that. It's been documented. It certainly is reasonable. All that we know is, from my knowledge, is that oil, hydrocarbon, has to have carbon, has to come from something that was once alive, is the standard teaching. So buried animals is almost what everybody believes is the source of the oil down in the ground. Of course, Noah's flood would have caused that in less than 1 year, would have buried zillions of animals. Also, if you realize the earth before the flood came was probably mostly land as opposed to mostly water. And it was probably mostly habitable, and it was probably a lot more...
you have 60 seconds remaining.
A lot more animals per acre because of the incredible food production and increased oxygen, increased pressure, etc. So I think the flood would have... The animals existing on Earth before the flood would have been incredible compared to today, easily capable of producing all the oil in the ground. I suppose it's possible. I don't know chemically how it's possible, but I'll have to leave that with a... Maybe so. I don't know. I'm open to see what research has been done on that. If you have any, let me know.
All right.
For the question.
Yes, yes, sir. We do have one from Fernando, and it's fairly long. So if you care to call back, I can go through Fernando's email.
Perfect timing. I'll do it right now.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Hovind. All right, Fernando. When he calls back, we'll start on yours.